Hi guys, here we are with Fnatic Team Director CoJo and Head Coach Elma for the first Fnatic Plus conference heading into Kickoff in EMEA. So first question is simply for Elma, what has preparations been like for the preseason coming into 2025?
I think it's been a lot less rushed than last year. I think last year we were a little worried about burnout, and we kind of came in last second and kind of tried to do everything for kickoff last year. So we've been practicing a lot more this off season. So I think we're in a lot better place with our map pool as well. Like it feels a lot more, not relaxed, but a lot more under control than last year. We're in a good place. I think we're happy with everything we're doing. Obviously Riot have done what Riot does, and they put a new agent in today. So that'll be fun to work out. But I think we're still in a much better place and a lot more prepared to deal with that and work out exactly what that means.
Have you had a good look at the new agent and is he OP?
He looks all right. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. It's always people always react one way or the other when it first comes out. It's always like, oh, he's terrible. Oh, it's amazing. There's never any like in between. So have to see it play out. The boys are playing ranked right now. First 1 or 2 ranked games with him. So we'll see how they feel and how practice goes today.
Cool. CoJo, this one's for you. So off-season, there were a couple of tournaments. There was a lot going on. We got in Sayonara, Kayak, and Crashies. How was the general off-season for the team from your perspective as team director? And do you think the boys got enough rest? And do you think our new signings have integrated well enough into the team?
I think what Chris said is pretty accurate, in that we had a lot more time to rest, or like a lot more time to practice this season. But I don't think that meant that was like at a massive expense of rest. Like I think the boys still had quite a lot of time off. We gave them, that holiday period mostly off. We came back for a few days of practice. But I think it was a pretty good balance, because you had Red Bull Homegrounds, which was like a more competitive endeavor, like more intense. Obviously we didn't get the results we would have wanted, but I think it was still good stage time, good reps, good to get Sayonara as well, kind of introduced to the team. And hopefully we'll have good news on that soon in terms of the future. But I think Kayak has settled in quite well. I think our goal with Kayak this offseason was to get him used to the stage, get him a bit more comfortable playing on stage, because that was something he had told us was a bit of a problem for him in the past, was kind of the nerves and being more comfortable on stage. And I think that especially after Red Bull Homegrounds, he kind of came to us and said like, that was a big help, and I already am feeling like a bit more comfortable. And I think he was probably, our best, maybe second best player against G2 in probably our most challenging game there. And I think Crashies has been, like exactly what we needed him to be. Like he's come in, he's been a veteran presence, but he's also been like a really good person to have around the team. Like socially, he's integrated really well. The boys really like him. He gets along with everyone. He's really easy to get along with in general, and he's just very likable. So I think that the team environment is like very harmonious right now. Like it feels like a really nice place to be. So I think in terms of like our objectives for the off season, like obviously we would have loved to have had, Leo come back and be back in, full strength. But in terms of getting a replacement, I think Crashies is pretty much like the best you could have asked for in our current situation. And I think we've hit most of our goals that we wanted to hit for this off season. So.
Yeah, how's it having another North American in the team that you can share North American jokes with? Chris is shaking his head.
We usually try to stay away from having like 2 people of the same nationality in our team, because it can usually create these like little cliques. But fortunately, this is an English speaker, so we're not off there like constantly sharing like North American jokes or like making fun of people in the language that everyone else doesn't know. But no, it's nice to have another American for sure. Like we're also he lives in Texas right now and I'm from Kansas, so it's kind of like the same part of the country as well. But I think it's nice for Austin just because, or it's nice for Crashies because having me around, I can kind of tell him how things are different from the US specifically and give him advice on like what things there are to do, and I kind of know what there would be to do in Texas, so I can kind of help him integrate a bit easier. So I think from that perspective it's nice, but yeah, I can't complain about having another American around.
Yeah. All right, Chris, how do you see kind of the state of the game and the meta right now? Do you think it kind of favors our style of play with Alpha on the ISO and the map pool right now?
I like the map pool. Get rid of that. Ascent needed to go about 3 years ago, so that's good, that's gone. The meta, as I said, new agent got introduced today, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't even really think about it, to be honest, like with the meta. Like the map pool I think about more, but with the meta I just kind of feel like, well, the map pool, it just kind of is what it is, and you have to make the best of it. So it's, I don't know, there's no point really complaining that the meta doesn't suit us or anything. I think that with our team, we've got quite flexible players. Like Chronicle, obviously renowned for being so flexible. He can just go to anything we need him to. And then even like Alpha, for instance, everyone kind of thinks of him as this Sentinel who's playing ISO now, but he can kind of play everything. Like we have a joke in the team right now that if we ever need a breach, that statistically he was actually like one of the best, but probably I think it was the best breach at Champions, just playing Sunset. So we have a joke that whenever a breach comes up that he's gonna have to play breach because he's the best breach at Champs, which he's not always too keen to do. But yeah, I think we have good players who are flexible, they're not really stuck in their role, so we can go to whatever kind of meta pops up.
And this is for either one of you. How is Boaster coming into the 2025 season? Obviously he's been around for a really long time, and is he as motivated as ever coming in as IGL?
Yeah, he's the same Boaster that you've had, well, I've had last year, and I presume that Colin's had before, that he's always motivated, he always wants to win, he puts everything else second, and he's coming in, he's making strats, he's identifying problems, he's doing everything you really want him to do. Sometimes maybe too much, he needs to ask for a bit of help sometimes, but he works incredibly hard, and he's a great IGL to have on the team and to work with as a coach.
Yeah, and with the departure of Mini, we've obviously put in or signed Milan as assistant coach. How is he fitting into the team, and what kind of value is he bringing to you, Elma, as your second?
I think Milan looks at the game a little bit differently to me and Boaster and even Mini, where we're very focused on kind of high level strategical micro stuff depending on who it is, whereas Milan's very good at focusing on like very fundamental stuff, which is actually really good for us, because I think that he'll be watching a scrim and I'll be looking at the mini map and all kinds of things, and he'll be looking at just like little things like how people have moved their utility round to round, or how people have communicated in a certain instance, whereas I think that me and Boaster don't always see that. We obviously do see it, but we're not quite as attuned to it as Milan is, and then we're probably more attuned to the like macro strategical stuff. So I think having him there watching practice, it's almost just like having a different perspective on the scrims, and I think what he brings in that aspect has been really, really good, and not something we actually knew he'd bring when we picked him up, but just kind of finding that thing where it's like, hey, he's really good at this and can help the team out in that way, as well as obviously doing all the preparation and stuff that you'd expect from assistant coaches, has been really good for us, I think.
Yeah, I heard you guys played a ranked yesterday. How did that go?
I left. I haven't played ranked in 4 or 5 acts, and he said you should play, it's fun. We got in the team. Everyone's flaming each other just like ranked always is, so I left. I said it's not worth my time. I don't have a rank to protect, so I left.
Just we don't condone this behavior. Don't AFK the games, guys.
Don't do that.
All right, and just to wrap up, for kickoff, looking at the other teams as well, obviously we've been scrimming them as well. What is kind of the level of competition like so far, and what is the realistic expectation for kickoff? CoJo?
I mean, I think we go into every tournament, every season wanting to win, every tournament we play in. I think that obviously our first goal is to qualify for Bangkok. we want to make sure we missed the first tournament of last year, and that was the first time we had missed the tournament since 2021, I believe, 2021 Berlin. So we don't want to make that a habit, right? We want to make sure that we're constantly being the team that's representing Europe at the highest level, which is, the reason that we build these rosters. I think there is a level of, maybe some people are expecting less from us because obviously we're bringing in a rookie duelist. We're, without Leo and bringing in Crashies. But I think that based on, our level of scrims in general, especially while we were in Asia, like we played a ton of really, really strong teams, and we had a winning record against those teams. And since we've come back to Europe, like we look pretty strong as well. So I think there's no reason to think that we won't be up there, but that's not to say that there aren't some really strong teams in Europe as well. Vitality, Heretics, Foot, all look really strong. All three of those teams, you would say, except for Heretics, obviously, who've stayed the same, are stronger than they were last season. So we'll have to see. I think a lot of it comes down to how a lot of the rosters mesh, because there's a lot of really fresh teams, whereas we've at least kept our core intact. So yeah, we're confident, but you never know how things are going to shake out once we get on the stage.
Yeah, Chris, anything to add on realistic expectations for the first split? Is it more like a ramping up to champs, or?
I mean, I think you obviously want to qualify. It's always, there's points on the line now. I think Riot have made good adjustments to how they distribute the championship points. And obviously you hope that in split 2 that you're going to just qualify top 3, but anything can happen. I think that's what makes competition fun. So, but I think we have a decent chance of qualifying. As I said, nothing's guaranteed, and there's a lot unknown right now. Like some team could just come out and be kind of incredible, like Heretics were last year. I don't think anyone at this time last year was like, oh, Heretics are going to be amazing, and that no one really thought that, but they were great. So it's kind of hard to know. It's a bit of an unknown, but I think we've been progressing well, and we'll see how things go.
And I think a lot of teams are taking risks too, which is like kind of cool to see. Like there's like so many tier 2 players that we even trialed during this off season that we're going to get to see this season. So the likes of Gentlemates and like even Apex, right, bringing in Fluorescent. Like there's a lot of risks being taken, and I think that's what makes our league exciting this year, especially is to see which of these are going to flop and which of these are actually going to be successful. So
yeah, okay. Does anybody else in the room have questions?
The panel.
Dan, you have a question? I have a question. Which is the best bundle to buy?
I think if you've been looking at Twitter recently, it's pretty obvious that Fnatic, the Fnatic bundle is the best one to buy. So make sure you guys buy the bundle, please. Please.